pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
The minutes from our last meeting of August the 16th. Everyone has them.
Mm-hmm. One thing I had was on item 4, when we were talking about the RMV non-renewal surcharge account.
Yeah.
Being 116% of allocation. What was the motion by Julie to question both that as well as the OPEB fund?
Yes.
Okay. I think that needs to be clear, that was the motion. So I'll say, motion by Julie for the chair to contact town accountant to explain the missing account for the OPEB fund as well as the RMV allocation.
Yep. I'll make a motion to accept this report with the corrections.
I'll second it.
All right. Anything else other than
I don't see anything.
clarification? All right, hearing none. Motion to accept the minutes from August 16th. Bev?
Yes.
Paul? Excuse
Yes.
me. Bob?
Yes.
And yes. The next item is the survey of the Board of Selectmen. I was hoping we'd have 6 people here tonight.
What's the deadline on this? Don't we have to have it in before our next meeting?
I can't remember the,
I think they wanted
I
us
know
by the
it's been
6th.
by September.
I think it
Yeah,
was.
6th would be, our next meeting is, what, the 31st?
Today's the 23rd. We get another one next week?
Right. Well,
Schedule.
that's our regular meeting, every other,
Yeah.
but,
I would rather have a full board.
September 6th would be the first Wednesday in September. I don't know if anybody has any odd.
I would,
personally don't plan on voting for it, to do it, from the committee, and I'm not gonna do it as an individual. I just don't think it's, I don't know what other members' thoughts are, but that's mine.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think the majority of these questions are questions that the selectmen have to do. They have to make up their minds. It's up to them to make these decisions. They could ask the community for input, that would be a good thing. But I think the reason, they should have done this 2 years ago, and they didn't. And I think because now the bottom of the hole is coming at them fast, they're looking for somebody to help them bail themselves out. And I don't feel it's not my job to do that. They can make a decision and then ask if we agree or not, I'd be fine with that. But it's not our board's job to tell them who they should put first, Board of Health, Highway, Planning, Inspection, or how they should run the town. I've given my 2 cents worth on the blog many times and no one chose to listen to me. We had a chance to get ourselves ahead of the curve a little bit. We could have had some money in stabilization, but that didn't happen.
I'm trying to find the deadline for this survey. I thought it was.
But I really feel that if they want to know what to do, they should ask the community.
So you're saying it would be more beneficial
Yeah.
for them to ask the community?
Do you want a full range of services? Even if it's at the barest minimum? Or do you want to close the library and the recreation? Those are tough decisions. But you know what? If you want to be selectmen, those are the decisions you have to be able to make. You have to know what you have for money and what you have to spread around. It's not up to me to tell them. I'm not going to make it easier.
Well,
That's my opinion.
I think it's a positive step on their part to ask for feedback. I mean, we've given input in the past, and it may not have been acted on or accepted in a positive way, but I mean, I do think it's appropriate for us to respond to it. But I also agree that, hey, let the whole community weigh in on some of this too.
They are asking to respond by September 1, so.
I said at the last meeting, when we were talking about that I thought it was more appropriate for us to do it individually. I just didn't think we could all come up with the same,
You could do that.
consensus on this, so.
Yeah,
But
you can-
in general, I think that's, good for them. They're asking for feedback. I mean, that's a,
Yeah, it's, I think it should be more to the community or,
You know what happened last year when they decided that they were gonna trash the senior center and the library? Instead of spreading it out, like I would have done if I had been in their shoes, they chose to take a lawnmower and run half the garden down.
our next regular meeting would be, on the 6th.
So we don't have one on the 31st?
Well, I mean, we can always have one, but.
Okay, I just was, yeah.
The advisory board's job is to look at financial matters and give feedback. Our job isn't to do policy.
you think, I'm sorry, you think that's what they're asking for here?
Yeah.
Statement of policy?
I think so.
Direction.
Well, yeah, direction, but that's, I don't know. I mean,
you know, I think that,
I think, my own personal opinion is I think 5 is the only one that we have any business really answering.
Well,
see, now, this is the question. Offer a full range of services that the community desires. Now, I've heard Kaplan say this numerous times, and I'm thinking to myself, who says that they desire this? Then I have Luann say, it doesn't matter if I'm only open 3 days a week, as long as I'm there when I say I'm gonna be open. So what one person thinks the community desires, and what another one thinks is different.
well, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, though, where we've
Yeah.
said, you know, if you ask the community, our take was, you know, we shouldn't be striving to keep the same service levels and, if we don't have the budget to support it.
That's right.
So, I mean, this is our opportunity to put our 2 cents in here, so. And then as far as these other ones, I think all of our feedback can be, financial input
And
on all of these questions.
I do agree with you in part, but I think we hit upon a very good point. I think this would be an excellent questionnaire to pass out at the town meeting,
Right.
and so
Or
forth, to
even
get
a light
feedback
bill,
from the
they can-
town.
They can put them in the light
townspeople.
bills.
But I think the idea of going directly to us, and no other committees, boards, within the structure of the town government, has a odd feeling to it.
Yeah.
Well, if, do we know that for a fact? And none of the other boards or committees have been requested to give input?
That is my interpretation. I don't know
To the best of
anything.
my knowledge, I think we're the only ones.
Or, hey, we are an advisory board.
Yep, advisory.
I'm not shy about giving my opinion on things. So, like I said, I do feel it's
Well,
Well-
appropriate to,
And neither am I as an individual.
yeah.
As a board or committee,
Mhm.
I feel different about it.
Mhm. Well, I wouldn't think, I think it would be an effort for us to come up with agreement on all of these things
Yeah.
as, you
Sure.
know, as a committee, but, and that was my input when we first got it, that I thought it was probably better if we contributed individually, but either way, I
Yeah,
still
yeah, I
think it's
still think-
positive move on their part to ask for feedback, you
now, maybe I'm jaded. I
know?
wonder why.
I might be with you. Trying not to be, but it's hard.
You know,
Well, if we're this divided about that, you know, whether we should even respond, I mean, then, I don't know how, you
a
wanna take
lot
a
of
vote
the,
on that?
a lot
whether-
of the stuff you can find in the DOR report. Jeffrey, you gotta put that on your blog.
Well, the first one, I just, don't
Well,
have
I
much to
wrote
say
down I
about
couldn't
that.
pass in.
The goals that the board should accomplish over the next year, well, first would be, stabilization plan.
Yep.
That would be with number 4 as well. Have a long-term goal for the next, say, 3 years to put an amount into stabilization, just
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
You know, it's not up to us to tell them what the priorities are for these other departments. Not my
And-
job.
And number 7, would be more to, again, would be on the budget of trying to, get it done earlier.
Do it electronically
you know,
instead of that
and
damn
me-
book.
And,
Can't carry it,
the
so
book is
heavy.
good though, because,
Yeah, it weighs a ton, Jeffrey.
no, yes, but I still have it. 2017, go on the Templeton Town website and try to find the 2017
So it's gone?
budget. I can't
Mhm.
find it on the list anymore. I don't find it under the selectmen, I don't find it under the advisory committee, I don't find it in the center page there with the list of stuff that you gotta go, you know. I can find it, it's been missing for, earlier this year, it was gone. Seems like as soon as we got into serious about 18, it's off there. That whole spreadsheet, I mean, I still have it, but as far as being on the website,
Yeah.
it's gone, it's not there. You know, and that's another thing that I think they should go for, would be that, get that town website organized in a much better, easier to use,
Format?
more informative, and there's, you just gotta look at some towns' websites, and, to me, Athol they have the same town website that we do, cities, towns, and schools, virtual city,
Mhm.
town, school. But they have a little thing you click on, it's the sunshine page, and it's all about the budget, it's, you know, it's all financial stuff, it's the way that we chose to lay out our webpage when we first set it up, and it just needs work.
I looked for information on the Conservation Commission, there's not one report there. Nothing, zero nada.
So a lot of the committees and boards are the same way.
Yes.
On the website, there's nothing.
Yeah, and sometimes you go to put stuff there and it's not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from my understanding, Selectman Forts is pushing an issue to change the, structure, domain, I don't know what it, exactly with the town website, to get it more functional.
You could also add, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
that they should include the money that the people are being paid in the town report again.
Again, this is something, I was hoping we would have at least 6 people here tonight.
I
'Cause
mean,
if
I'll
we were
fill
gonna-
out,
If we were gonna respond as a committee, I think as many members of the committee should be present as possible.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But as Paul said, we're so divided on whether we should do it or
well, I can see
not.
doing the things that you're talking about, but I'll be darned if.
So, but I mean, that's how you kinda gotta put, the glasses on, so to speak.
Yep.
And look at this, and just don't say, well, what do you think the goals the board should do? Just think of the financial stuff that
Right.
you
Yep.
would like to see.
All right, I'll
to
go
see
along with
happen.
that one, but as far as
So,
telling
I-
them who they
I
should,
think we're at a consensus
Yeah.
that not responding as a committee, we don't even have to vote, it just seems like we're not, at least us 4 here, and I'm trying to remember when this first came out. I don't think Julie was interested in responding at all. I think Darlene's thought,
she wasn't here long enough to know.
no, but I know,
That's what she
she's on the
said.
committee, she has a say, and I
That's what
think
she
she
said at
thought
the
it was a
time.
good idea
But
to
I think
try
that's
to,
what she said.
was try to get the committee to respond, I think. And Will, I think he was waiting to see what, we were gonna come up with. But I think if we're gonna respond in any way by September 1st, I think it's gonna be individuals.
Yeah.
I don't wanna speak for everybody, but I think that's the gist of what I get. If we wanna respond at all, it'd be individual.
Make a motion to do that. I think that
And,
would make sense.
And like I said, like Paul said, you look at this, if you look at these things in just financial terms, because, if you wanna get technical about it, the different committees, an advisory committee can advise on all the warrant articles rather than just the financial ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some communities, they have a warrant committee and a finance committee, and the finance committee deals just with the budget and stuff. Cause some communities, the finance committee actually does the budget, or at least gives it to town meeting. Then they have a warrant committee, and there's even a few that have, it's a combined finance and warrant, rather than just an advisory, but, and the warrant committee looks at all the other articles, as far as just, you know, telling town meeting, hey, yeah, we support this, or this override here, that, no, we don't, or that, so. I think individually, we, you know, if each of us wants to do it, but I just don't think we're gonna come to any kind of consensus. Responding as a committee, and I don't think we really have the time. We could have, come on next Wednesday and try to get, you know, something done and email it to the selectmen, but
We may end up in the same spot next Wednesday.
like I said, myself personally, I may respond to it, along budget.
Guidelines?
In train of thought, financial,
Yep. Other than that, it's really
as far as,
not our affair.
you know, the goals that the board should try to shoot for 3 years and an immediate year, and, but number one, I'm not even gonna touch, because the board be more effective, well, they have guidelines for the board, and I believe they should use them and run their meetings by that, but and that's been spoke on enough.
Yeah.
So, if anyone wants to make a motion to respond individually rather than a committee, that's, I mean, we do have a quorum.
Yeah.
I just wish there was 6 of us here, was
Well,
7,
I think that,
but it is what it is. And I don't think meeting next Wednesday,
will make a difference.
is gonna,
I'll make a motion that as individual members of the advisory committee, that people feel free to answer the goal setting, that the selectmen, the questions they sent us individually, and get it in time for them to tabulate the results.
and they said they would like it by September 1st, so,
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion really is
We're all
that
gonna
the
do it on
committee
our own.
won't respond to
Yeah.
the survey as
But the
a
individuals,
committee.
yeah.
You know, but we're free,
Individually.
we're free to do it as individuals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that way they can't say we didn't give them anything.
So a motion to not respond as a committee to the survey. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All right, we got a motion and a second, we will not respond as a committee. I think we both talked that to death.
Yep.
All right. Bev,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and yes. Okay, for Paul's presentation, I think at our last meeting, he was gonna make some changes, or,
I did not make copies. Did everybody receive the email I sent out with
Yep.
the?
With the red?
do you know which one you
When was it? It was sent on, 1 second.
Last week.
It was sent on the 19th, 12:03 PM.
I got the minutes.
I had a real hard time getting this to go through my server for some reason.
Let me see if they went to my
It was
other.
500 kilobyte file size, but I did everything I could to, I even zipped it, right? Didn't,
Big Greek to me, sweetie.
I didn't get it.
get it, okay. I can, I'll try resending it, but like I said, I was having a hard time, it wouldn't go through
You
my
wanna wait on
Comcast
this,
server.
Jeffrey, until we have a full board?
Huh?
You wanna wait on this till we have a full board?
Didn't we have to get this before?
Well, I didn't even get to read the changes, because I didn't.
You can have this copy for now, but I'll try to resend it to you.
I think I got it. Is that it?
Somebody has me on the do not receive.
No, not you.
Not to receive
Not
list.
you.
Keep the backlist.
That's the one, yeah.
I don't know why, I'm such an easygoing, nice guy.
So just, the changes are in red. One question I had was on the first change page, that page there, where it says, advisory would like to see attention to the stabilization fund, OPEB fund, and capital improvement reserves, with a goal of actually budgeting money for those funds. Is that correct? You would actually budget money for the OPEB fund?
Yes.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if I got that correct.
Yeah, there are some communities that are actually doing that. There's some, they say there's one community that's funded it, but they went out and borrowed millions of dollars. It's one of those down near Boston, Newton, Wells, one of them communities where I think they got more money than brains, but they borrowed a boatload of money.
The light company has
To-
money put away for
to,
theirs.
No, but this is, I think I don't believe they're 100% funded, but I think in the state, this town that just did that, they're more ahead, they're closer than anyone, than even the state. Back in, was it 15 or 16? 15, I think. When we went to me and Will and Julie went to the finance committee, and that was one of the things that's looming on, all towns, cities and towns. People don't have their money.
Can't even fix
It's
their own.
every year, you gotta
never
come
mind.
up with it to pay retirement stuff, and as the laws changing, the feds and everything, that
I
you
think
gotta
there's
have this money put aside, because it's a bill, it comes due when, if you
Be
don't
a lot of
have it,
people, I
it's-
think,
But,
would be
and it's like
unhappy.
pensions, retirement is the same thing, but we're kinda hard to do it because we belong to the Worcester Regional. And they have they did an actuarial study a few years ago, and that's why our retirement costs jumped. And, they're supposed to be on that, so when you get it, that's actually what covers your pension, but, I don't think it's, like I said, I think it's Newton, or Wells, one of the wealthy communities down there, they borrowed a boatload of money to try to, get up really close to having their liability funded, and then they just have to,
But
gotta pay
they
that
have all
nil cost.
kinds of businesses that they collect taxes from.
But, yeah, but
Huh?
see, it doesn't matter, even the city of Gardner doesn't have it fully funded, there's just, and there's states out there that don't,
I was gonna say, the
you
country
know,
doesn't
the
have
federal
it.
government doesn't have,
About 60
you know.
to 70%.
you know, if say they got $1 billion that they gotta pay out in pensions every year, they don't have that put away.
No.
And cities and towns are the same way.
Mm.
And what this OPEB thing is trying to get everybody used to putting a little aside to have something rather than nothing. Cause,
That-
you know, a community that does, say the people just get ticked off at taxes and somebody comes up with doing an underride to lower the levy and the amount of money that you can raise, well, let's see, okay, that passes. Now, you know, how are we gonna come up with our retirement and health insurance money for the retirees? You know, okay, well, we gonna have to shut shut this down, shut that down, and that's what I guess the goal of this is to do.
When Temple Stewart left here and Baldwinville Products, they must have kicked in. I gotta come down and sit in the office someday and look through the old books to see how much money we lost in tax revenue. Never mind excise tax and all that. When they left and the town treated things like nothing changed. And that's when we were getting $150,000 a year or more from the light company.
Mm.
You can't, if the well is dry, you don't get water out of it.
So,
So we've been playing Russian roulette for too long.
we add to actually setting money aside for the OPEB fund.
Yeah.
And they've had a town meeting vote on that like 2 years in a row now. Where it's at, like I said, I sent those questions to the accountant and I haven't got an answer. I don't know if she's on vacation or what.
Anybody ever?
Monday, they were closed, so I mean, I sent it out Sunday night.
Where did Marco get his found money that time? Anybody ever figure that one out?
That was strictly stuff on paper that was there. That's generally how that is. Numbers show up on paper and then it's like people lose money in the stock market, but, you know, they don't freak out because they just lost it on paper.
But still, it came from somewhere. It's not like we have a can next to the washing machine.
Provide accounting detail, I guess.
You know?
And TAC recommends. So, they're not big changes, but there are some.
Yeah, it was just providing some clarification to some of the points, asking for specific turnaround times, you know, when we can expect the reports, how quickly they needed to.
That's important because I don't wanna get the thing
Mhm.
a week before our town meeting, it's all done and they say, here, you wanna make changes?
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So,
So do you wanna, do we wanna wait till we get the full committee to discuss it, or?
yeah, there's not a real big rush on this. I mean, we should do it by sometime in September.
Yeah, do it, next meeting.
So,
That way
I
Will
can
and
put
Luke,
this-
Julie,
I'll
and
put this on the agenda for
Darlene.
September 6th.
Darlene and Julie and Will
September
can
6th.
look
And
at
I
it.
will, I won't bother Will with it, but, I'll just remind all members, I foresee me doing sitting in the role for a little bit. I hope not long, but, never know. You know, it was gonna be a meeting last time and just the way things work out. was gonna be one meeting, and it turned out to be, a few months. So yeah, we'll give it one more meeting and hope, like I said, if we can get at least 6 people. I just think on things like this, we should have as much of the committee as possible.
Yep.
I concur.
Um, And we'll see, cause we'll see how the budget stuff starts to go and just watch the quarterly reports with the revenue, and a lot's gonna probably depend on what happens at the special town meeting, and if there's any unallocated funds, commonly known as free cash, to do things with, or otherwise there's gonna be some serious chopping.
Yep.
Cause there's over 300,000 that they have to come up with. I mean, it will affect the tax rate next year. The tax rate will increase by direction from the DOR to pay
That's,
that extra 300.
that's why I didn't
Which is about
understand.
probably, let's see, I think $1 right now raises 5.97, so you've gotta come up with 3, it's 40-something cents. 50 cents, somewhere around there, but that's what the DOR said, it would be on the tax recap, which means it'll be like getting a debt exclusion, except there won't be no vote, it'll be just told to do it.
No, did the DOR certify our free cash? Cause I
Not
looked, I
yet.
saw
They-
something that
they
said
won't
like
know
1.6.
until when the audits get done and all of that business. Cause when they get that, and the last, I watched the meeting, I didn't go to the meeting, but I watched the meeting then. They were waiting on a couple of issues. One of them was, they couldn't complete, like, the balance sheet and stuff to get the documentation that the DOR wants. So they're gonna have like an outline or a rough, like a draft copy of stuff, and to meet with the DOR to show them that they're waiting on a couple of things that it's outside of. One of them is the Worcester County retirement system, which, you know, when they get their stuff cleared and settled, it's like the school district. The school, they have to do theirs. They have until October. It's either September 31st or October 31st. I think it's in October, but definitely by September 31st, they have to have their financials into the state. And that's how they get their E&D money, which is leftover money that they can use for different things. So that's the last selectmen's meeting, that's what they were talking about. So the auditors have been in the building and did some, preliminary glancing and stuff, but they don't have stuff, balance sheet and stuff completed because they were waiting on 2 or 3 entities. One of them was Worcester County Retirement.
See, if I,
So we won't know
yeah,
until they get that stuff done, then this DOR will, cause the DOR won't certify free cash and the allocated funds until you have this, your Schedule A and your balance sheet done. And they wanna see some other things. But again, that's a work in progress, and that wasn't gonna be till sometime in September, and then have a special town meeting either October or early November, cause they're rushing to get the bonding for the school.
now God help us if that doesn't come out nice. What
So-
on earth are people gonna do?
So we will, you can look
That'll
at
be
these
fun.
changes, don't forget if you wanna do the survey, make recommendations and get that in by September 1st. And thank you, Paul, for doing that. and
I
those
really
updates.
wish we would
Um,
get somebody young that had some ambition to come in and stick with us for a while. That would make a huge difference.
On the budget versus actual, that was I put that on there because of the questions that we had, and there was, like 4 of them. And, I submitted them, and I believe I sent everybody, a copy of the questions that were submitted.
Yep.
and I have not received a response yet. I don't know if Kelly's out for the week, if busy stuff, I
She's
just
working
don't
at
know.
Phillipston
I just don't know.
at night.
So do we wanna just,
I just know that the questions were sent and I have not received anything. I might send a follow-up, tomorrow and maybe CC, Carter, and see what happens.
should we push that agenda item till the 6th?
Yes,
Do you need a motion?
and then we'll just, we're gonna have to, eventually, we're gonna have to send this and request a meeting. Or just forward it to them via email,
Should,
whichever we do. So, that pretty much covers it. Is there any, under old business, I don't think there's anything open other than those questions.
Yep.
Under new business, is there anything anybody has seen, they have a question about, a concern that would maybe like, for the next agenda, or a question asked, or?
I just have a question about the bond. They get the bond approved, and is the intent to be for the full amount of financing for our portion of the school project?
Well, they're doing this kind of piecemeal. They get a ban for, 5 million. That was so they could keep going. And then my understanding is, once they get this next audit done and pay those, that 300-something thousand to get that taken care of, and then go out for, and hopefully then have a bond rating, and then, go out for the 20 million, so the town's cost, well, the estimated town's cost of around 24 plus, they would have that borrowed.
I was gonna say, I have a question that's along those lines. Do we have, can we get, is there a beast that has the town's total debt detailed? Like, because, I mean, it's my understanding that the MFOB is still, gonna be an issue, because we're potentially borrowing over the 5% limit of our, total.
Well,
Um,
they're gonna walk that line and say this is outside the debt limit, and this doesn't count, and that's gonna be, with the DOR. But as far as getting a bond rating, a credit rating, so to speak, and getting that borrowing, it's all a work in progress. From what I understand from watching the meetings and listening to them, I say the selectmen and CA and the accountant, and even when the DOR was here. There's a lot of things that's gotta fall into place that they're hoping will, cause if step A gets done, okay, then we'll do B, then we'll do C. If there's a stutter step in step B, then I don't know if step C and D can happen to get to the point where they get a bond rating and borrow the rest.
Why they
But
would-
that's not up to us. That's them making
I don't think the young people understand either, that they
In charge.
agreed to build a school when they don't even know what it will cost us to borrow money. It could be devastating.
Well, that's the,
Hey,
That's like the
don't-
end, it's like the end cost. You estimate it's gonna be 24 million, but you really don't know until it's built. And you just look no further than Ashburnham, what that did to their tax rate.
Yep.
And it went up almost $4 a thousand, and probably 75% of that, a little more maybe, was. the
my
school.
way of looking at it, there are gonna be people that can't stay here.
So if we don't have any
Nope.
Old business, new business. That is all that is on the agenda for this evening. So we could have a motion to adjourn and go fishing and drink a beer.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second it.
Thank you, I already had it written in like that, so.
Am I the official
Motion
second
made.
now?
All right. We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Yeah, right.
We are adjourned.
I didn't